Welcome back. Let's now head into our Kickstarter conversation of the day. For years now, Uganda has been praised by the international community over its role in fighting Ebola. Indeed, earlier this week, the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services, Alex Azar, commended Uganda for its efforts to contain the virus, revealing that America would continue supporting Uganda in the prevention and spread of Ebola. Azar, who was meeting with the Health Minister, Dr. General Cheng, also revealed that the 2 Ebola drugs had already been taken to the Democratic Republic of Congo to be used against Ebola. Now, to explain more about this, we are joined by the Health Ministry spokesperson, Emmanuel Ainebiona, and he joins us right now in studio. But first, let's take a look at a story related to Ebola and give you a feel of what we are going to be discussing on the show. Take a look.
I am here to recognize the incredibly hard work that Uganda and its Ministry of Health have done to prevent the spread of the Ebola outbreak from the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. Uganda has a large and highly active border with a country that is now facing the most complex Ebola outbreak we have ever seen. There is immense work that has to be done, that has had to be done in bolstering preparedness and response capacities, screening those crossing the border, and responding to the discovery of cases.
So Uganda is also working on bringing in the monoclonal antibody treatment so that when we have these cases coming, they can receive the treatment. And as you've heard from Secretary Eza, probably we may be able to save their lives if they come in on time. And so what we are doing is making sure that everything in place is in readiness.
Dr. General Cheng deliberating about government's role in containing the Ebola virus. Now, to explain more on this, we are joined by Emmanuel Ainebiona, the Health Ministry's spokesperson, and he joins us right now in studio. Good morning, and thank you for coming.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Now, first things first, talk to us about what you're doing to contain Ebola in the country.
Yes, since the outbreak of Ebola virus disease in the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo,
Indeed.
Uganda swiftly entered its preparedness mode. And preparedness meant ensuring that our systems are able to detect and defend its population against this virus. So a number of activities, preparedness activities were undertaken. That was 1st August 2018. When an outbreak was declared in Eastern DRC. So we've been having several interventions like screening at the points of entry. What do I mean by points of entry? These include the border crossing points on the long borderline between Uganda and Congo, at the international airport, which is Entebbe, and also most recently at Arua airfield. So this screening is for all passengers entering into the country, and also those traders, private individuals coming to trade from the DRC.
Right.
We also introduced a vaccine to protect our health workers and frontline care workers with the support of the World Health Organization, and we have had over 8,000 health workers and frontline workers vaccinated.
Right.
Because in case of if any patient presents with Ebola, the first reporting point is the health facility. So we had to ensure that our health workers are protected, and we have continuous risk communication. I hope you've had messages on TVs,
Correct.
on radios, clearly defining the symptoms and signs
Right.
of Ebola.
You know, when the threat was actually high right here in Uganda, especially with a few number of hemorrhagic fever cases reported at the border points, I remember everyone was on high alert with regards to messaging on media, in the corporate spaces. We did have hand sanitizers everywhere. Everyone is just sanitizing on the go, but we seem to have relaxed off a little bit. Why are we having that? Is it that the Ministry of Health has also relaxed somewhat with regards to making sure that, the public remains on high alert, especially now that the danger is still in DRC? They did surpass the 1,500, threshold with regards to the deaths recorded thanks to Ebola. What is, making people slag off? Is it the messaging that is, diminishing, or what exactly is it?
I don't know what you base on to assess that kind of messages. Yes, indeed, there is fatigue, because now the outbreak in DRC is about 1 year old.
Right.
It's being contained with the success of the success story of the 2 therapeutic drugs. But here in Uganda, as the Ministry of Health, we maintain high level of alertness, vigilance, and preparedness.
But on the part of the citizens,
yes, and
I'm sure you interact
when I move out and the citizens are able to. The reason why we get even high alerts, some are just suspect alerts, people who present with simple fever. That shows citizens are able to tell the symptoms and signs related to Ebola. So the alertedness on social media, on mainstream media, the other day our call center every day has a number of callers asking about Ebola. Or if anyone has kind of even breeding, normal breeding from any other illness, we are able to receive that alert.
How about the behavioral, kind of, comfort that we are now, experiencing? People are no longer sanitizing. I'll tell you for sure, over and above being here, I interact with quite a number of corporates. And when I go to these offices, this particular sanitizers are there. But when I actually get to monitor, because before I get in, you have to, spend a few minutes at the reception, especially if you're, you keep time. People don't sanitize anymore. But between that particular bracket when we are on high alert, you would see people sanitizing on the go. And what is happening?
It's still the case, and I am glad that as I entered, I saw a sanitizer at the entrance.
But I'll tell you, not a majority of us are using it.
And that's why we continuously call upon the population and members of the public, like we are talking about it now, to ensure that they continuously observe hand washing, sanitize to prevent infection.
So prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Inebiona, a 9-year-old crossed over from the DRC in late August, around there. Now, part of the problem is the porous borders with the Democratic Republic of Congo. What are you doing to ensure that the hemorrhagic fever doesn't cross over into the country?
Yes, we've mapped out all the points of entry. The formal points of entry are manned by our human resource, who have screening gadgets, for instance, in Pondwe. But there are places like Arua, there is no borderline.
Yes.
It's the border is a road. So what we do there is to increase surveillance, ensuring that people are well sensitized to detect the symptoms of the disease, and also to report to the nearest health facility in case of any symptom. But like at Entebbe, we have a thermal scanner. This is a machine that can screen people at a distance, and we now have about 2 at the same time at Mpondwe, and we are continuously installing more thermal scanners at the points of entry.
Right.
So at the crossing point, how have we been able to know people who use porous borders? It's through sharing information between our counterparts in the Ministry of Health in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
All right.
The cases we got that were imported in June this year, of a family of about 6 people, that information had been shared by the Congo Ministry of Health in advance. So we also alerted our health workers in Kasese, and indeed we were able to trace these people. They were taken to the Ebola treatment unit at the Bwera Hospital. Then we had discussions with our counterparts in DRC, and we discussed repatriation.
Right.
Unfortunately, we lost 3 of them, and most recently, there is a 9-year-old who also was detected at Mpondwe
Correct.
with fever and also symptoms of bleeding.
So these people
The points of
detected-
entry was able to detect the 9-year-old girl, showing that our screening at the points of entry is very effective. And this girl was put on ambulance, rushed to the Ebola treatment unit or isolation at Bwera treatment unit.
A swift response.
Yes.
Now,
And that's how
those
we
are
have
some of the
managed
people
not
who
to
are
have it
identified,
with
but
our
then there are some
population.
people who are not identified. We've seen situations in Western Uganda where parents and children cross over from Congo into the country. What are you doing to safeguard Ugandans to ensure that they don't contract this fever?
Yeah, continued screening and sharing of information, because it is on information that we have been able to detect the few cases we have registered as a country.
Right.
And these have been largely imported from DRC. They are not Ugandans, but Congolese who have come, but they have been able, our health workers, to detect them, not to spread the infection to our citizens.
All right, so you attribute this particular, level of success, as I can call it, to that strong partnership between the Ugandan government and DRC Congo, where you can freely communicate
Yes.
and ensure that everyone is on high alert
Yes.
with regards to the movement of different
And it's
people.
across all the neighbors.
Right.
And recently, I think at the weekend, there was a scare in the Republic of Tanzania. And still we are monitoring closely the situation.
Right.
And eventually they indicated that the suspect had tested negative.
All right, let's talk about the vaccination. And a majority of, the public was actually, happy. Ugandans were happy when they got to that news, whereby now we do have a vaccine that is on trial. And of course, the first people who are going to, pretty much get this vaccination is the frontline workers of Ebola. Now, at that point in time, it was at 90% success rate. The success rate of this particular vaccine.
Yes.
Have we moved on from 90% to something that can be given as an assurance, then rolled out to the entire public?
Scientists and WHO will soon communicate, because this vaccine was first used in West Africa. With the outbreak in DRC, the vaccine is being used. Uganda was the first country to use the vaccine with even no outbreak.
Correct.
We have also been using it in a trial. So it is a study. So at the end of, I think WHO, and working with the Ministry of Health and the Centers for Disease Prevention Control, CDC, will soon be releasing the findings, because scientists are trying to observe its effectiveness.
Right.
The mother of the 3-year-old boy who crossed into Uganda in June and was tested positive was vaccinated, and she's surviving. So at
Wait,
first value,
she was vaccinated after testing positive,
no,
or before?
Before, because a vaccine is meant to boost someone's
Immunity, yes, against a certain pathogen.
certain pathogen, and that is what happened. The mother was vaccinated because had come with the child. 2 of the children and their grandmother tested positive.
Right.
But the mother who was vaccinated is still
Alive.
is still alive.
Just take us through
And
the process of trial. What does it entail? Because you know that, okay, we are at trial stage, and for it to actually be, certified as a reliable vaccine, there's a process, right?
They are
What are the processes?
They are about 4 stages.
Okay.
I am not a medic or to best explain it, but I can tell you what I know. There is vaccine development, then there are clinical trials where you find they are doing on like mice. Then from mice, then they move to the clinical trials when it is being used on patients. For instance, currently the Uganda Virus Research Institute is conducting a trial in Western Uganda,
Right.
an Ebola vaccine trial. So these clinical trials are the ones that have shown efficacy, that indeed this vaccine
Works.
is able to boost someone's immunity. And so far about 90%, as you had indicated. So that's why we are using this vaccine, but still it is still in a trial stage.
Okay.
Yeah, and
until when it is approved by the Food and Drug Authority,
Right.
FDA.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, in the past there was debate over setting up of trials, vaccine trials for Ebola in Uganda. With the success of the drugs, do we see World Health Organization disbursing these drugs to the general population?
Indeed, as your earlier footage indicated, the Minister of Health, Dr. Jane Ruth Cheng, has requested WHO to ensure that these two efficacious Ebola treatment drugs are made available, such that in an event we have any confirmed case in the country, we are able to give these patients that drug, because in DRC, they are now patients who have come to the hospital and will be leaving when they have no Ebola virus disease, thanks to the successful trials that have led to these two treatments.
So where are these vaccine trials being conducted?
In the DRC.
Okay.
In Uganda here, where are they being conducted?
In Uganda, we have not used, because these are used on positive cases. Recently, we thought maybe this 9-year-old girl would be would benefit from these drugs, but unfortunately, she died.
So we have two instances here. We have the vaccines and we have the drugs.
The therapeutic drugs.
Exactly.
Yes.
The vaccine is to prevent someone from actually contracting the Ebola virus, and for the drug is actually for treatment purposes.
Treatment.
Are we
so
saying
you can compare it like to the malaria.
Correct.
Treatment.
So these are two totally different things. Now the
Yes.
vaccination is still on trial stage. We're waiting for WHO to actually get it through the process, authorized and certified. How about the drug? Are
The
we
drug
not
is
sure
in
that
the final
can it
stages.
cure? Does
During
it cure?
during
Do we
his
have
visit,
success
the
rates of it?
U.S. Secretary for Health and Human Services indicated it's now to undergo licensing by FDA.
Right.
So that means for
It's
it,
on 100%.
it is almost now. It's almost now. If it is going for registration stage, it's ready to be used.
Okay.
Well,
Once
Mr.
it's
Inebiona,
approved.
we have to commend the health ministry for combating this problem. You've actually done very well for yourselves, and I believe there's a planned meeting on this matter to address this issue. Tell us more about this conference.
We have several meetings regionally as a follow-up to controlling the outbreak in the DRC and here in Uganda. We have several conferences, so we shall be giving information on the next planned meeting, because we have also accountability meetings. Partners have given money, have given equipment.
Right.
So continuously we have scheduled meetings, conferences on to follow up, also scientific conferences where we have information like the success rate of the vaccine, the success rate of the therapeutic drugs.
All right.
So we shall keep you updated about several development, and we had a high profile visitor from the Trump's administration, and who also really lauded our preparedness to stop the spread of the highly infectious disease into our borders.
So talk to us
and
about...
as we talk to now, Uganda has no case of Ebola.
But we still need to be on high alert.
But we still need to be on high alert.
So talk to us about the support you are getting from the Ministry of Health in fighting Ebola.
The Ministry of Health,
our he is the Ministry of Health.
He is, but what support are you getting for now?
Yes, we through our partners, including the Centers for Disease Control, the World Health Organization, several embassies, the Irish, then UK aid, we have received a number of support in terms of equipment, the thermal scanners we have installed at our points of entry, the capacity of enhancing. We can now test the Ebola sample near to the points of care. So even the movement of the samples, for instance, from Kasese to the Uganda Virus Research Institute, it used to take several days. Now it can be done within 24 hours, and we have the results. So this capacity, for instance, the support from the Centers for Disease Control has enhanced our capacity in terms of laboratory, which is key, because if you are able to detect early, then you're able to prevent the disease from spreading.
All right, Mr. Emmanuel, you know, the beauty is you're here, and we can ask you any question with regards to this matter, Ebola. Just a few weeks ago, we saw this in the news, that a few workers stopped working, especially them that were deployed at the border points? A majority, said, hey, we can no longer do this, and you lost quite a number of them. What would you say was the reason of that? I'm sure you saw that in the
That one, I
papers.
think it was misrepresented information.
What exactly then happened?
All our health workers have been at the border points and remain at the border points.
You want to say you have not lost any worker between when we were, this particular scare came through to now? Have you lost any worker?
I can't say we have lost any worker, because as of now, if you went to Mpondwe, if you went to Arua, if you went at Entebbe, they are health workers who are screening, they are epidemiologists who are in the field to do case search. Everywhere we have our systems working.
So you're saying that
yes.
you can now refute that particular claim?
I really have.
You're saying there's no health worker who has stopped working from the beginning to now? That's
health workers keep changing, because
that's what you're getting to.
I'm telling you, for 1 year, you can't have the same health worker.
Thank you.
Who has left his family,
yes.
either in Kampala.
Yes.
They have to shift, and also you have to deploy others.
So that is
yes.
what we're actually
it's
getting
just
to, because the
deployment.
The
yes.
news was on that exactly. At least now you've agreed that, hey, there's that particular, rotational structure
yes.
that is there. And you're saying the key reason...
That is not moving away from duty.
Now, the
yes.
reason you're saying you are having this particular change of health workers is because of that distance from family. And they felt that, hey, we need to be close to family and not operational gaps.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to laud our health workers, because some have been at the border points for almost 1 year. If someone can sacrifice for all that long, away from family, away from loved ones, to ensure that they are able to participate in protecting their fellow Ugandans from contracting the disease. So you cannot limit someone to a time he or she can spend at the border screening.
So that is the only reason?
Yes. So we through our incident manager,
all right.
they keep deploying.
Okay. So you're saying there's
yes.
no operational gaps with regards to the welfare of these workers? It's zero.
There have been a few challenges, like delayed reimbursement of their allowances,
okay.
but all these are being addressed, and it is work in progress. We have not had any progress of preparedness work stalled because of these challenges.
Right.
So, Mr. Inebiona, what can you describe as an achievement at this point when it comes to containing Ebola?
The fact that as we speak today, we do not have any positive case.
Indeed.
Yet in our neighboring, in the neighboring DRC, over 3,000 cases have tested positive. Over 2,000 people have succumbed to the Ebola virus.
Right.
And this is just about less than 100 meters. In Arua, a lady died in a place, near Arua, a lady died in a place called Aliwara in DRC, which was less than 10 kilometers from the Arua border.
Right.
So given the fact that as of today, Uganda has no positive case of Ebola.
That's enough.
A very great achievement.
All right, as you wrap this up, Mr. Emmanuel, just for the sake of the viewer, again, as we are trying to make sure that no one lacks out, or we don't have this laxity because of that particular fact that, we don't have any case reported.
Yes.
Can you just list for us, for the sake of the viewer, the symptoms that are, in line with hemorrhagic fever, stroke, Ebola? Yes. What are these symptoms?
The symptoms of hemorrhagic fevers are highly characteristic with fever, that is increase in body temperature. There are symptoms like general body weakness, fatigue, and also bleeding from the body openings. So those are key, and also vomiting.
Right.
So if someone in your community, in any part of the country, presents with signs like high fever, general body weakness, fatigue, nose bleeding, or bleeding in any part of body opening, then you should refer that person to the nearest health facility.
Right.
And also ensure that you observe prevention control by wearing protective gear
And washing hands
and
frequently.
also regularly, continuously washing hands.
Okay. All right.
Well, we saw some very, very, very disturbing developments right there in Congo. The reason Ebola spread so fast, during the barriers, people would touch the disease, do, you know, close contact with the body.
Yes.
So that's why Ebola was able to spread quickly all over the country and affect so many people. What are we doing differently in Uganda? What tools are we using to sensitize the public?
Number one is community mobilization through risk communication. We have our communities through the health, district health team or the structure in the district up to the sub-county level, where we have continuous sensitization of families, door to door. You've seen posters. There are posters, there are people educating people. That has helped us to ensure that people really understand that the risk of Ebola exists. And compared to DRC, there was that misconception that people would say Ebola does not exist. That would prompt them to touch the bodies and also performing cultural rituals. In Uganda, we have a medical team, a team of experts. In case a body, it is proven and tested and confirmed that the person has tested positive or has died with symptoms related to hemorrhagic fever, we have a special burial team from the Ministry of Health that is always dispatched to ensure that they bury the body in support of the community that would have lost their loved ones.
So
that has helped us to prevent infection, even for other hemorrhagic fevers, because the hemorrhagic fevers include Marburg, include Rift Valley fever, include Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, all these. And we have had some cases, for instance, of Rift Valley fever and Crimean Congo fever around the cattle corridor.
Right.
But even with that, those who have tested of other hemorrhagic fevers have been buried by a special burial team.
So, Mr. Inebiona, as we wrap up, if I were to contract the fever right now, where do I go in 20 seconds?
Health center.
Just tell us the name of the health center where I can go and get help.
Naguru is close by. There is even an isolation unit. So if you move to Naguru, you will be handled by a team of experts who will ensure that you do not spread the disease to any other person.
Indeed. At that point, I think we'll have to leave it at that, Mala. Well, Mr. Inebiona, thank you for coming and helping us demystify some of the rumors surrounding this topic. Thank you very much. We've been speaking to Mr. Inebiona Emmanuel. He's the spokesperson for the Ministry of Health. On that point, we end our Take Note conversation and we hit our Kickstarter conversation, and we now take a very short break and we'll return up with our Take Note conversation of the day. You're still watching Morning at NTV with me, Romeo Busiku and Mala.